Well, as for this very moment, in this very morning I get on here, it's still going to be a while before I go into work, so just decided I'd kind of take a little step where we carve along this little area along here to make the area that sort of drapes over the little place where the road ends, and I say that, oh, like work shall make a little way to us and show us how we just see a little time we put in what we do. There's certain things they'd rather you suggest you use a gouge to do, but sometimes I'd say for me, even a knife can be just as easy to do it with. So it's just how we come along, make these little ways we do about things, and then carve into the work. I know that this has been my type of work for ages and centuries, and no, well, not centuries, but I'd say for years. It probably has only been about 15 years I've been carving yet, but as far as how a little work shall come and go, it's like this little critter is just the thing that we see in itself. Oh, I say, like, it's just kind of working along the way, making it so we see little times and waves and lives we show in life, and how we know that there's so much to God's creation we discover over time. And I know one thing for sure, I've even recalled how there was a certain lady I worked with who had this prayer up in her little work area. It said, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'd say that's just a real powerful prayer. And I tell y'all, there's a lot of things in life we have to accept that, as we kind of say, we cannot change, and that's how we see that a little work shall take its way along. I mean, there's probably certain steps like this I'd usually do with Mary first, but decided this time around I'd take it on with Joseph, because this is probably one little step where the Joseph section doesn't tell you to refer to the Mary section in the book, even though it's a similar step. But there are so many steps in the book where the Joseph section does tell you to refer to the Mary section as far as certain steps you take, and it'll kind of tell you the same about the shepherd. And then there's places where it tells you to refer to the shepherd when you carve King Melchior, and then there's little places where they show you how to carve King Gaspar and King Balthazar, and that's just one of those things where, tradition probably tells us those are the names of the wise men, but the Bible doesn't tell us the names of the wise men. It doesn't really tell us how many there were, but, that's kind of among those things where we see little things in life that can tell us different things, and sometimes the little things that come and are told to us by tradition, we learn. It's even mentioned in that book how that, things like cattle and donkeys in the stall were not mentioned in the original Bible, but they say that there are apocryphal books that mention those creatures in the stable, so we could always kind of look up things like that just to find a little interesting history now and then. And I say that the work shall make its way about us to see little wonderful things we can do in life, have happy times, blessed times. Oh, the work of our hands is just extraordinary. It binds us to the wall, and I say many more things. As for now, we're going to try to kind of make our way into Mary and kind of put a little bit of hope into her and come along these little places where we carve the lines out to make out her robe and see how beautiful she is. I say that this is just among those things where we get stuff together. I always like kind of showing this stuff I do on YouTube and so many more networks where people can really see what it does, and I say that this is just one little way to go. Forgot to show you all how it came out on these two little Joseph figures, but this is how it did up at the top, and how we work around her is just quite a similar in its ways. I say somebody works a little ways and makes it so it's all so blessed for us and you and me, and wow, I say kind of come where we work into all we have and all we do, less of the work. I say this is how I do it. It's just a little time in the way that we'll have a lot to say in the end, but I'll talk on and on while I carve about random things, random subjects, and I mean, you know, things can be kind of different as you work in different environments and different places. Thankfully, my job is only a 3-hour day job. I kind of get most of the day to myself and get most of the day to rest and relax. So, you know, it's like I'd be there less time than most people. And I'd say in my 20s, early 20s, I just worked a lot of 8-hour days like most people did. And probably one of the hardest things I had to do. I'd say that for all the steps we're taking, we're going to come around here and take off this bottom part of the shepherd's coat, and this is how he will turn out for the very blessed end. It's probably going to be a little more work to do around the top of the head and around the top of the coat, but around the little hood, but this little work is just kind of taking it so we just see how bright it is, how bright it goes, and I say that it's just time we all get past little things in life, make it so we see what's going to be a brighter end, a brighter day, a brighter way. Oh, I tell y'all that a little work shall conquer us in the largest ways, and come along here. We're going to carve into the little coat of the shepherd to make it so it's going to be what it's going to be when we get down to the final work of it, and finally work our way in where we make the lines here. And as for this moment now, we're going to have more to show in the next few videos, but this is how we got it to turn out on one side. We're going to take the same step to the other side as well and show how it's going to look for how it comes out in the end. And anybody could say anything when they comment on a video here and there, but it's all going to be said and done for long whiles. And I say this is just the masterpiece of all things. I say, blessed ways we go. Two little shepherds, and we got down to the very bottoms of their coats. And all things, I say, might as well take the same little step on Joseph here as well. We don't know what order we're supposed to be doing this in. And there's going to come a time with where these lines we carved for Joseph's headdress, we gotta be careful about that, because that's going to be a difficult step to take. Probably going to have its own video for that, and what we can show for when we do that. And I'd say it's going to take a little extra work just to show what we'll do when we make that part of the carving. And I say that this is probably not a time when I've got too much random to talk about, because this is a time when there's probably little certain instructions we have to focus on for real and take them to where they need to be and where they need to go. And say that for one thing, there's probably a final little step we might take where we will finally just make that cut right there and work away along on this. Oh, see how the work shall brighten us, see us light. Oh, and a lot of line is just gonna come out and tell us all that we are doing so good. I say we got the time where we put stuff away, see the good in us and in other people, and oh, for a little brighter days and brighter nights, I say, oh, good work shall make its way to us. Oh, see a little light in us. Oh, brighten our days. Got one little place to go here, and we got that little place right there. And for the two places of Mary, we're going to do the same little step here. Try to take it as lightly as it can go. And sometimes, you know, there's certain steps where they also say with certain carvings that, you know, the chips shouldn't be so big, but with work like this, the way it's described in the books, the chips are supposed to come out real big, because that kind of goes to show the progress that you're making on a project like this. And then the rest of the way it goes, and you'll see so much more to come. I say brighter days, brighter nights, brighter evenings. Oh, look what we got here. It's just Mary's cloak. And then we kind of got this little place here, and we got one more to do to take it down to where it ought to be, make it so she's going to be brighter in the lights and brighter in the days and brighter in the nights. I say, blessed little work. I say, blessed little work. Oh, Mary, Mother of Jesus, many Marys in the Bible, and then there's Mary Magdalene, Mary the sister of Martha, and Mary the wife of Cleophas, and so many that came around Jesus, and when they watched him die and on the cross, and we know that this little ministry Jesus had was one that was here for us. He brought a lot of grace and mercy to the world when he died on the cross for our sins, and that's one reason he was born as a baby to earth. We used to sing a song in church that when Jesus left heaven to die on the tree. This was love, love, love. I say, he was at the right hand of the Father all the time. And so when he came back to heaven after his resurrection, sat in the same place once again. They don't really demonstrate it in the book, but what they show in the carving is that there's another line that is drawn along here where the other part has to be made, where we carve along this line now, and I'd say that this is just one little step we got to take right here just to see where it's going to go next. I always like to make these carvings of these wonderful things and show how it can really be done. Book patterns kind of give us the best ideas and the best details and things, and all the ways I could take all of these and make other little stories based on them, you know. That's kind of how it all has worked in the long run. And I'd say for these little things here, we can probably use a different knife just to cut out the little lines, and there's different knives I use to do different kinds of work, some with thinner blades, some with thicker blades, and some that go all different kinds of ways in all different kinds of directions. And there's one particular knife that's kind of like an X-Acto that I don't use anymore. It was kind of like the one that cut into my leg one time and caused me to have to get several layers of stitches. So one we gotta be a little extra more careful about, I say. And oh, the times that we work in our lives, we got the little backs of these Mary and Joseph figures to do, and there's going to be little things here. Might have some little things more show up in another video, but as for now, this is going to be a little place we go with this. Sometimes I feel like I gotta watch the time, make sure I don't stay on too long, but as for this little work, we kind of got a little line to make back in the back of Mary's cloak. For one little line we have working on here is just kind of the thing that works its way about us. Oh, little lights of day, I say, brighten our world, brighten our lives, brighten our nights. Oh, little things we say and do, blessed days, blessed nights. It's kind of a little time in the morning, like getting closer to my work time as I carve. It may even be later this afternoon that this gets uploaded to YouTube, but whenever it is, we know it's going to come up for the best. would like to say that I think this might be enough time taken here, because it's getting to the point where it might be a little closer to time to try to make it out some places a little later, and feel like I'm getting much better from my allergy symptoms lately, and feel like I'm recovering from that, and that's just the best thing we say about it right now. I'll tell y'all more as we move along, but do think that even though it's only been a little over 20 minutes, it might be time to end just now. So thank you for watching, and take care.